Cancer, welcome to your astrology reading for the month of September. So before I jump into the energy of the month, this is going to be most applicable for your rising sign, which is the sign that rules your first house or your ascendant. Rising sign, they're all the same. It's how other people perceive you. It is still applicable for your sun sign. It's how you express yourself. And then your moon sign, which is how you process everything through that emotional lens. So kind of jumping into the energy here this month, we have another planet stationing retrograde. So think of it as kind of retrograde season. So Mercury in retrograde, done at this point. We're still in the shadow post that, but what we have here is a pretty significant transit. So Uranus, it's one of those planets of transformation. Uranus will actually station retrograde. That's going to happen right away on September 1st. So you know what, let me just jump into the energy of the month. This is going to end up being a longer reading because we have a lot going on in the month of September. And so when Uranus stations retrograde in the sign of Taurus, it is going to happen on the 1st at 11:18 in the morning Eastern time. When this happens, for you, this is sitting in your house of community. So think of your group of friends, the people that you surround yourself with. Uranus is the tower. It's that sudden change. It can feel very uncomfortable in the minute. But sitting in the sign of Taurus, it's meant to be based on what you value. Taurus likes to emphasize what you value. It's ruled by Venus. And so Uranus being retrograde does have all of that change directed inward. And so when it comes to maybe the types of relationships you have with your friends, the way that you see your friends, the changes that are taking place aren't happening among those people. They're happening to you. And it's meant to kind of remove any blocks or barriers that you would have to having the types of friends that you want or having that healthy relationship with those friends. And so when Uranus stations retrograde, it's actually going to trine Venus in Libra. And the really interesting dynamic here is Venus rules both Taurus and Libra. So it's a lot of the same energy taking place. So whatever these internal changes are that are happening as it relates to your group of friends, it's going to easily blend with whatever you want to achieve at home. Libra is sitting in your 4th house of home. Venus in Libra is about bringing things together. It's harmony, it's balance, it's all of these things. So there's a big connection between your community and your home life, easy blend of energy. Everything is very harmonious, very much in alignment with what you value and want. We'll also have this Uranus in Taurus trine Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. And so this is an interesting one here because these are two planets of transformation. You have Uranus, which is sudden change. You have Pluto, it's the death and rebirth planet. And so these are both internal because they're both retrograde. So all of those changes are now taking place internally. So the internal changes as they relate to your group of friends, it's also going to easily flow with whatever changes you're trying to accomplish just in general. Pluto retrograde in Aquarius is sitting in your 8th house. Your 8th house is the house of transformation. It is the house of death and rebirth. And so you can kind of see the synergy that's taking place. There's a lot of internal changes, a lot of breaking old cycles, breaking old paradigms that are happening right now. And it's kind of coming across the board for everybody, impacting everyone a little bit differently. I've actually been seeing it in all the tarot readings too, where all of these changes are just taking place. We're kind of in this almost in between worlds type of energy where it's out with the old and with the new. And these are major shifts that are taking place. This is one of them. This Uranus station retrograde in Taurus is one of them. Uranus retrograde in Taurus will also sextile Neptune retrograde in Pisces. So Neptune is the ruler of Pisces. This planet is also retrograde because we have a lot of planets that are retrograde right now. So there's a lot of internal processing, rethinking, seeing things through a more cleared lens. That's what this Neptune retrograde in Pisces is all about. It's like, I might have had these dreams and these goals that were kind of way up in the sky, but how do I make them a reality? So when Neptune stationed retrograde in the sign of Pisces, you might have had goals for your personal growth. They could have related to travel, think long distance travel, something by a plane, could have been around higher education, anything that was meant to kind of grow you as a person. Some of those goals and dreams may not have been practical. And so what's been happening is Neptune retrograde in Pisces has you kind of rethinking all of that, seeing the truth. Is that reality? Can I make that a reality? And so these internal changes as it takes place connected to your community, your friends, it's going to create some sort of opportunity for you to really reevaluate the goals that you've set that align with your personal growth. What is it that you're really trying to achieve here? this Uranus in retrograde will also square the moon in Leo. And so the moon in Leo is sitting in your second house of personal finances. But Leo is very bold, very dynamic. And so if you've been trying to do anything, kind of stepping outside your comfort zone, feeling a different way about your finances, how do you feel about them? What are you trying to accomplish there? This is where the internal changes that are happening as they relate to your community, it's creating some sort of challenge or conflict as you're trying to do something with your finances, maybe something bold and really kind of outside your comfort zone here. And so you can kind of see where Uranus and Taurus is trying to ground you. It's trying to remove anything that's not practical for you. Let's make this a reality, and how that would be an obstacle to maybe something you want to do that is bold and dynamic. It's a square energy. You can work through it. We'll also have Uranus retrograde in Taurus square the moon in Leo. So we had moon in Leo and Mercury in Leo. Bear with me. I ate something that I'm allergic to and my tongue is still a little bit swollen, but it's getting better. So just bear with me if I'm struggling through some of these words. So with Uranus retrograde in Taurus, so these changes that are happening as they relate to your friends, your group of friends, the way that you interact with them, it's creating obstacles or challenges. So these might be conversations around your personal finances, taking some sort of bold action. And so the moon is, how do you feel about that? Mercury is, let's have the discussion about that. And so you can see where the square is coming in, where that obstacle or challenge is coming into place, because again, you're trying to do something that is very practical and grounded versus maybe stepping outside your comfort zone and doing something that you've never done before. That would just be an energy that you can work with. I haven't mentioned it yet, but it's been something that has probably come up throughout the year. I haven't mentioned it in this reading. I've mentioned it in other readings. We actually have Pluto re-entering the sign of Capricorn. That happens the same day that Uranus stations retrograde. And so Pluto is already retrograde. So these are the two planets of transformation. They both have major transits taking place right away. Let's start September off with a bang here. And so this one is going to happen on the 1st at 8:08 p.m. Eastern Time. Pluto was in Capricorn, then it moved into Aquarius at the beginning of the year. Then it's now re-entering the sign. So it went retrograde in the sign of Aquarius, and then it's moving back into Capricorn. It's kind of bounced between the two, but this is the final stint that it's going to be in the sign of Capricorn. Capricorn is all about structure, and let's create some sort of path, and let's follow that path that we've designed for ourselves. Let's have a game plan here. Pluto is the planet of transformation, but what's been happening here is Pluto's been in Aquarius, and so it knows what it's like to be liberated. You've been experiencing this already. You've already had and you've already seen all the breakdown of all these structures that you thought were doing one thing, and now you can kind of see how they've held you back. And so when Pluto re-enters the sign of Capricorn, it's really about closing out those chapters, really taking one last look at all these structures that you've put into place. What needs to stay, what needs to go, because Pluto is death and rebirth. So what do you need to let go of? What do you need to keep? And what do you need to start? That's what this is all about. For you, this is all sitting in your 7th house of personal relationships. So think of, if you're married, it's your spouse. Those would be these significant relationships in your life. So think of, maybe you're not married, maybe it's just a significant other that you live with. It would be that kind of relationship, though. It's not just somebody that you're casually dating. That's a 5th house energy. 7th house is more significant. Could even be, I keep getting mentor, so it could be like a mentor type of relationship here. And so when Pluto re-enters Capricorn, this is a lot of rethinking any structures or things that you've had in place as it relates to that kind of relationship. What did you always believe? What did you always believe was the path to success here? That's what you're reevaluating and reconsidering. When Pluto entered into Aquarius, it was, let's liberate you from anything that's been holding you back. Now it's, okay, I've experienced this liberation. What structures am I still holding on to that I need to let go of? Because this is really, truly about closing out that chapter. And when Pluto is in Capricorn, so right now it's retrograde in Capricorn. So these are all changes that are happening internally. Pluto's actually going to station direct in the sign of Capricorn on October 11th, and then it will re-enter the sign of Aquarius on November 19th, where it's going to be for the next 20 years. And so this is truly the last time in our lifetime that we're going to see Pluto in the sign of Capricorn. So it truly is breaking down that structure. When Pluto is retrograde in Capricorn, so when this transit happens, it's going to trine Venus and Libra. So any kind of Think of old cycles that you're breaking down as it relates to significant relationships in your life. It's easily going to flow with whatever you're trying to accomplish at home, because Venus in Libra is sitting in your 4th house of home. So what are you trying to bring together in your home life? What are you trying to balance out here? And so whatever structures you're reevaluating as it relates to, think of your marriage partner, it's going to easily blend with whatever you're trying to do at home. This Pluto retrograde in Capricorn will also trine Uranus retrograde in Taurus. So it's not even just about this easy flow of energy of whatever you're trying to accomplish at home. The reconsideration of these structures, of maybe the way that you've always gone about your significant relationships, it's easily going to blend with whatever changes are happening as it relates to your community, your group of friends, those sudden changes that are happening inside you. So again, you can kind of see how your home life, your group of friends, and your significant other, they're all coming into a really clear alignment here from an astrology standpoint. Then we have Pluto retrograde in Capricorn, sextile Neptune retrograde in Pisces. And so Pisces for you, sitting in your 9th house of growth. Think of it that way. So anything that would help you grow. So traveling and learning about foreign countries. This would be higher education, anything along those lines that would help you grow. What kind of goals have you set for yourself? Because what's happening now is, as you are reevaluating the structures that you have in place with your significant other in that relationship, it's creating an opportunity for you to really reevaluate and reconsider, what did you consider from a growth standpoint? How did you want to grow? What kind of person do you want to be? Because that's the Neptune and Pisces energy. This Pluto retrograde in Capricorn will square Chiron retrograde in Aries. If I can get the word out. So Chiron it's a wound. It's a wound that's been coming to the surface. This is sitting in your career and public reputation. And so whatever you're reevaluating as it relates to your significant other or that type of relationship, it is creating some sort of obstacle or challenge to taking any action to heal a wound connected to your career. But if you think about those for a second, if it is a spouse or a significant other, anything that you're doing to kind of benefit that relationship would make it a little bit more difficult, because you're not focused on your career right now. You're focused on that relationship that most likely is outside of your career. I mean, it could be in your career, but it's most likely outside. And so this is where the obstacle or challenge is coming into play. There's no easy blend of energy here. If you wanted to work on both, you could. It would just require some effort on your part. Then we have the new moon in Virgo. So that's going to happen on the 2nd at 9:55 p.m. Eastern time. And so when this happens, you have the sun and the moon. They're at the same degree point in the sky. Easy blend of energy. They overlap each other, quite literally overlap each other. And so in the sign of Virgo, Virgo is very analytical, can be critical, but it's definitely a healing type of energy. And so the sun and the moon, this is really about expressing how you feel. And so expressing how you feel about healing or anything like that. For you, the significance is Virgo is in your house of communication. So there is even more communication happening here. This is just really enforcing the type of communication that you're having. Could even be how you're understanding the impact of it all. So as you're healing, not only are you expressing this, but understanding the impact to yourself. We'll also have the sun and moon square Jupiter and Gemini. So any kind of expressing yourself, maybe the details, understanding the analysis, the healing, all of those things, really how you're expressing how you're feeling. It's going to create some sort of obstacle or challenge to this internal growth. Jupiter and Gemini. So Jupiter is the planet of growth and expansion in the sign of Gemini. So it's in its opposite sign. Right now it's at home in Sagittarius. So it's at its weakest point in the sign of Gemini. Gemini for you rules your 12th house, which is your internal self, your subconscious. And so you can kind of see where if you're expressing yourself outward, you're expressing how you're feeling, it's creating some sort of obstacle or challenge for any kind of internal growth. But it's more of, that's not the focus right now. The focus is on growing and expanding or having some sort of conversation outside of you. We also have the sun and moon opposite Saturn retrograde in Pisces. And so Saturn retrograde in Pisces, again, sitting in your 9th house of personal growth. This is expansion. Think of it as like Jupiter type of energy. If you've been doing any kind of internal work on yourself to grow and expand who you are, how you're expressing yourself right now how you're healing, what you're healing from, all the details connected to it. It is opposite this energy. And so it's really more about, okay, I need to express myself now before I continue working on myself for growth and expansion. So it's an opposing energy. You can find the balance between the two. This one does require even more work than a square would, but it is still possible. And then on the 4th, we have Mars enter the sign of Cancer. So that's going to happen at 3:46 in the afternoon Eastern time. And so Mars in the sign of Cancer. Mars is the planet of action. Cancer is all about your emotions. So there's a lot of maybe acting out your emotions or acting on something that really kind of appeals to you on an emotional level. For you, Mars in Cancer is sitting in your 1st house. That's your physical self. That's your physical body. And so how you feel about yourself, you're going to act on it. This is actually a pretty strong one for you. I think it's going to work better for you than it will in other signs. This Mars in Cancer will sextile Mercury in Leo. Mercury in Leo is sitting in your 2nd house of personal finances. And so what I'm getting here, and what I was getting here when I was kind of typing all this up, is that you're really right now acting in your own best interest. So whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish with your personal finances, this would be any kind of conversations that you're looking to have, taking some sort of action to lead to your financial security or any kind of goals that you've set for yourself. This is where it's going to create an opportunity where you can act in your own best interest here. The Mars in Cancer transit will also square the Moon in Libra. And so Moon in Libra is sitting in your 4th house. So how do you feel about balance at home? Because you got that happening on one side and you've got, okay, I want to take some sort of action here. I want to act on my feelings, do something in my own best interest. It's creating some sort of challenge here to any kind of balance or harmony that you're trying to establish at home, or the way that you feel about your home life. And you can kind of see it that way. It's like I'm acting in my own best interest versus in the collective, meaning your family and just whatever encompasses home for you. Mars in Cancer will square Venus in the sign of Libra. And so Venus, again, in Libra. So we had the Moon there, we have Venus there. So what do you value about your home life? What is it that you want to bring together? What kind of balance do you want in your home life? It just feels like right now there's this need to act in your own best interest, act on your feelings right now, and how that can creating some sort of challenge or obstacle in your home environment, just because it might rock the balance a little bit, because maybe you've always kind of compromised there, and now it's like, well, I need to act in my own best interest, and so compromising is not going to work for me at the moment. And so that's where it's creating some sort of obstacle or challenge. That would just be a hypothetical. That's not going to be applicable to everybody. We'll also have Mars in Cancer square Neptune retrograde in Pisces. And so that Pisces energy, again, sitting in your 9th house. So this is growth, this is expansion. Who do you want to be? Higher education, all of those things. Whatever action that you want to take right now, acting on your feelings, acting in your own kind of own best interest right now, it is creating obstacles or challenges to any kind of goals that you've set for yourself from a career, not maybe career, but from a growth standpoint. Anything that you want to accomplish here. It's just, again, maybe now's not the right time to focus on growing and expanding, because there's maybe something more immediate that requires your attention, and that's why you're acting out your feelings or acting on your feelings in some sort of way. But again, these are all things that's like, right now, front and center, there's something that you need to do for yourself versus something that you need to do for yourself in relation to your home life or into other areas of your life. Then we have Mercury enter the sign of Virgo. So that's going to happen on the 9th at 2:50 in the morning Eastern time. And so Mercury in the sign of Virgo, well, Mercury rules Virgo. And Virgo is a very healing energy. It's all about communication. It's understanding and analyzing everything that's kind of come in. Let's just take all the data, absorb it all, maybe a little bit behind the scenes. It's very much the hermit energy in tarot. And so it's, let's take that step back and think things through. And so Mercury in Virgo for you is sitting in your 3rd house of communication. So we've got Mercury, Virgo, all about communication in your house of communication. And so there might be some sort of healing conversations that are going to occur right now, or there's something here where maybe you're healing from some sort of conversation, because Mercury also is about processing all the information. It's not just saying it out loud. And so Mercury in Virgo will trine Chiron in Aries. And so any kind of healing conversation or the impact of other conversations, It's going to easily flow with whatever wound has been coming to the surface connected to your career. And now career or public reputation, because that Chiron retrograde in Aries is sitting in your 10th house of career and public reputation. So it could go either way there. We'll also have Mercury in Virgo, sextile Mars in Cancer. And so whatever healing conversations you might be having, whatever you're trying to discuss or articulate to other people, maybe it's the depths of the healing that you're going through, it's going to create an opportunity for you to continue acting in your own best interest, really acting on your feelings here. Mercury in Virgo will square Uranus retrograde in Taurus. And so those healing conversations, it's going to create some sort of obstacle or challenge to those internal changes that are taking place as it relates to your friends and the way that you interact with those friends, the way that maybe you communicate with those friends. It's creating some sort of obstacle or challenge here because it feels like, as I've said in other times, like maybe the emphasis right now is on something more immediate versus on something that is not a pressing issue. And it doesn't feel like that this one is. And so any kind of changes that are taking place as it relates to how you interact with your friends, that community around you, just an obstacle or challenge right now. It's one you can work through. And then Mercury in Virgo will square the moon in Scorpio. And so the moon in Scorpio is sitting in your 5th house. So 5th house being the house of fun. So this is children, hobbies, maybe short-term relationships, whatever you do outside of work, that's fun. That's encompassed in this 5th house. And so Mercury in Virgo, communication, healing conversation, it's creating some sort of obstacle or challenge to any kind of transformation that might be taking place as it relates to your children or your hobbies, things like that, or how you feel about things that are changing as it relates to children, hobbies, all of that, because Scorpio is the sign of transformation. And so this is just, okay, if I need to heal something, it's almost like if you think about it, putting a wound back together, sewing up a wound, that would be in conflict here with changing something, opening something up. So it's a square. You can work through the energy. We're also about to flip into the Pisces Virgo eclipse season. So right now we're still sitting in Aries Libra. That is going to be changing. This is going to be the first sign of it. So we do have the full moon in the sign of Pisces. That's actually a partial lunar eclipse. So this is going to give us some sort of glimpse into how this next series of eclipse season is going to impact us. And so the first one, again, full moon in Pisces, it's going to happen on the 17th at 10:34 p.m. Eastern time. And for you, this is a 3rd house, 9th house type of energy. So with any full moon, you've got the sun and the moon at opposite points in the sky. And so you've got the sun, let's express ourselves. We've got the moon, let's internally process everything. So you can kind of see how they're different in that way. Sun in Virgo, this would be any kind of expression. It's sitting in your house of communication. So let's really talk about things. Let me express myself in a way that's very healing, maybe very analytical. And that's going to be opposite about how you feel towards personal growth. Pisces is a very much let's see, sky's the limit. Let's go after what we want. And Virgo's like, nope, let's bring that back down to earth and let's be very practical and very grounded in what we do. Virgo is an earth sign. Pisces is a water sign. And so you can kind of see where they're a little bit different and why they're opposite in that way. And so just with any full moon, and this one, the eclipse, you're going to have different conversations. The sun and the moon are going to have different conversations, but they actually have some pretty harmonious ones here. And so right away, we'll have the sun in Virgo trine Uranus retrograde in Taurus. So however you're expressing yourself, whatever the details are, the analysis, healing, all of it, it's going to easily blend with whatever internal changes are taking place as it relates to how you see your friends, the interactions you have with your friends. All of this is going to easily blend. You might even be having those kind of healing conversations with your friends or analysis or something where you're really expressing yourself in a meaningful way with your group of friends. So that one's an easy one. The moon in Pisces will sextile Uranus and Taurus. And so this is still a positive one. This one requires some sort of action on your part. And so however you feel about your growth, it's creating some sort of opportunity for maybe additional action to take place as it relates to your community of friends, or maybe just the way that you interact with them in general, the changes that are already in place. Then we have the sun in Virgo trine Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. And you can kind of see when it comes to these two planets that are transformation, definitely changing planets here, this partial eclipse is actually pretty positive from this perspective. And so whatever conversations are taking place here, whatever kind of healing conversations, getting into the details, it's easily going to blend with whatever internal changes you're trying to make in your significant relationship. So think marriage partner. If you're married, it's sitting in your 7th house, that 1-to-1. Could be somebody that you live with, somebody like that. And so this is an easy flowing energy where maybe you're expressing yourself to this person and you're seeing things differently because you're going through some sort of transformation internally. And maybe this is something you're not used to. You're not used to opening yourself up to this level with somebody like this. And now you are. And that would be some sort of changing structure here. We also have the moon in Pisces. That's going to create an opportunity for more of the same. So moon in Pisces, sextile Pluto, retrograde in Capricorn. And so when it comes to that significant relationship, how you feel about your growth and expansion, maybe what goals you've set for that, it's going to give you an opportunity for maybe more internal changes as it relates to that person, the relationship you have, interacting with that person, the level of detail that you go into, just kind of like that opening up of your soul. And then we have the sun in Virgo square Jupiter in Gemini. And so the Jupiter in Gemini, again, sitting in your 12th house, this is your subconscious. So however you're expressing yourself internally, it's creating some sort of obstacle or challenge to any kind of internal growth here. But it's not even just the sun in Virgo that's doing it. The moon in Pisces is doing the same. They're actually in a T-square with this, which just means they're both creating conflicts. And so how you feel about your own personal growth is creating some sort of obstacle or challenge to your own internal growth and expansion. And so this, again, I mean, they're squares. You can work with the energy. It's just going to take some effort to put into it. And then we have the sun in Virgo opposite Neptune retrograde in Pisces. And so not a surprise because we have the moon in Pisces, so we'll have Neptune retrograde in Pisces, and it'll be opposite the sun. And so however you're expressing yourself, it is just opposite how you feel, what kind of goals you've set for yourself when it relates to your own personal growth here. It's something that you can work through. You just have to find that happy medium. In fact, what I am seeing is these two planets of transformation actually kind of bridge any kind of opposition that's taking place during this eclipse. And because we've got the moon in Pisces, the moon will be conjunct Neptune in Pisces. And so this Neptune retrograde in Pisces, moon in Pisces, how do you feel about the goals that you've set for yourself? Internally reflecting on all of them, complete alignment, blend of energy, really positive there. And then we have the sun enter the sign of Libra. So that's going to happen on the 22nd at 8:44 in the morning Eastern time. And so when the sun enters the sign of Libra, so sun is how you express yourself. Libra is a very balanced energy. So when this happens, Libra is sitting in your 4th house. So, well, Libra's not sitting in. Libra rules your 4th house. The sun is sitting in your 4th house. And so this can be some sort of balanced expression at home. The sun in Libra will trine the moon in Gemini. And so however you're expressing yourself at home, it's a very balanced type of expression. It's going to easily flow with how you feel about yourself internally, the details of you, because that's what that moon in Gemini is all about. Because Gemini rules, or it sits in your 12th house, or rules your 12th house. I can't find the right word. So that would be how you feel about your internal self, your subconscious, the way that you've always seen yourself. We'll also have the sun in Libra trine Uranus retrograde in Taurus. And so the sun in Libra, that balanced expression of yourself, that balanced communication at home, it's easily going to flow with whatever internal changes are taking place as it relates to your friends. And again, the interactions with your friends, the way that you view your friends, the types of relationships that you want with them. We'll also have the sun in Libra trine Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. And so whatever balanced expression is happening at home, it's going to easily blend with whatever changes are taking place within your significant relationship. So that 7th house relationship, your marriage partner, if you're married, your significant other, that relationship here. So it's really coming together and it's bringing all these areas of your life together. So it's taking your home life and your house of community around you, how you're expressing yourself at home. It's really kind of creating this really beautiful synergy across all of them. We will have the sun in Libra square Jupiter in Gemini. So if you've been trying to grow something internally, so this would be that internal growth and expansion, that Jupiter in Gemini sitting in your 12th house. these balanced conversations you're having at home, or the way that you're expressing yourself at home, it is creating some sort of obstacle or challenge in order for you to be able to go after any kind of growth here. But again, you can work on it. You just have to work on it. You have to put the effort in. We will have the Sun in Libra conjunct Mercury in Virgo. And so Mercury in Virgo, again, Mercury rules Virgo, so it's all about communication and conversation and balancing energy with, so balanced expression at home and healing conversations. So you can kind of see how this one's a really positive one. If you've had any kind of conflicts at home, this feels like it's a really good time to kind of mend that through conversation. We'll also have the Sun in Libra opposite Neptune retrograde in Pisces. And so any kind of balanced expression at home, it's just going to be directly opposite any kind of goals that you've set for your own personal growth here. Whatever you're trying to accomplish, it just feels like right now the emphasis on balancing something at home, really kind of expressing yourself in a way that is very balanced, and your goals for your own personal growth are you separate from your home. And so you can kind of see where that is creating some sort of opposition where you can find the happy medium. You do have to work through it. Then on the same day, we have Venus enter the sign of Scorpio. So that's going to happen on the 22nd at 10:36 p.m. Eastern time. So this happens the same day that the Sun enters the sign of Libra. Venus in Scorpio is an interesting energy. Venus is all about harmony and bringing things together, focusing on what you value. It rules relationships. Scorpio energy is transformation. That's death and rebirth. But Scorpio is also a very loyal, very passionate energy. Think about, it's a lot of 8th house energy where it can be, again, like very passion driven, very loyal. Let's see what we can do. What can we accomplish? And so Venus in Scorpio is very heavily emphasized, if I can get the words out, or emphasis, whatever, on being passionate and loyal. And so that's sitting in your 5th house. 5th house of children, hobbies, passion projects, maybe short-term romance. Maybe you're not interested in, or maybe have no desire to be married or anything like that. And this would be those 5th house relationships. So Venus and Scorpio, this is about being very passionate, related to your kids, hobbies, things like that. It will trine Jupiter and Gemini. So if that internal growth and expansion that we've been talking about, this is an easy blend of energy. This is something where easily flow, you don't need to work with it at all. It's just going to organically happen. Being passionate around your hobbies and children is going to help you grow into who you want to be. Venus and Scorpio will square Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. And so Venus and Scorpio, so maybe being passionate about your kids or hobbies, those things that you do outside of work for fun, it is creating some sort of obstacle or challenge relative to any kind of internal change that you want to happen in your significant relationship, in that marriage partner. And so this could indicate, like, if you've got a spouse and you've got kids, your emphasis right now is on, maybe I'm more loyal to my children right now and doing something for them versus doing something for my spouse, or kind of focused here. And so it's an obstacle or challenge. You can find a way to work with the energy. I was going to say 5th house, 7th house. So this might be applicable to somebody, but 5th house short term, 7th house long term. You know, if 5th house, if you're really enjoying being in a short term relationship, and obviously, or maybe not obviously, maybe you do have a long term relationship too, no judgment. But this would be an indication that, you know, your emphasis here is on the short term relationship and not on any kind of long term relationship. Just putting it out there. And then we have Mercury enter the sign of Libra. So that's going to happen on the 26th at 4:09 in the morning Eastern time. And so when Mercury enters the sign of Libra, Mercury being the planet of communication, Libra being all about balance, and let's bring harmony to things, let's bring things together. We'll actually have Mercury and the Sun in Libra. Mercury and the Sun are going to be in a conjunction with each other, and they're going to be sitting in your 4th house of home. So this would be any kind of balanced conversations at home, really expressing yourself in a way that it feels very authentic because it is very balanced. We'll also have Mercury in Libra trine Uranus retrograde in Taurus. And so any kind of balanced conversations that you're having at home, they're going to easily blend with whatever internal changes are taking place as they relate to your community, your group of friends, things like that. Mercury in Libra will trine Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. And so these balanced conversations that you're having at home, the way that you've been expressing yourself, it's going to easily blend with whatever you're trying to change as it relates to your significant other. Whatever that relationship is, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish there, these balanced conversations are easily going to blend with that relationship as well. Mercury in Libra will square Jupiter in Gemini. And so these balanced conversations at home, you kind of saw this when Sun entered Libra. You're seeing it now with Mercury entering Libra. When Mercury enters Libra, it's going to square Jupiter in Gemini. And so it's going to create some sort of obstacle or challenge for some sort of internal growth here. And so it just feels like now's not the right time to focus on making any kind of adjustments internally from like a growth standpoint. It's more about let's stabilize everything. Let's kind of ground all of these other changes that are taking place before we continue growing and expanding. And then we'll have Mercury in Libra opposite Neptune retrograde in Pisces. And so these balanced conversations that you're having at home are just opposite whatever kind of goals you have for your own growth and expansion here, because that Neptune retrograde in Pisces, very similar to that Jupiter energy. I mean, ninth house is very similar to Jupiter. So you can kind of see where all this growth and expansion is coming from. So any kind of goals that you've set for yourself, or maybe the reevaluation of the goals that you've set for yourself, they are opposite to any kind of grounding conversations you're having right now at home, where you're just kind of trying to keep the peace, trying to keep things together. Harmony, balance is kind of the key here. And so it's going to be opposite to anything that you want to do to grow, anything that you want to do to grow, if I can get the words out again. So it's an opposing energy. You can find a way to kind of work with it, but this one, again, just requires effort on your part. So Cancer, this is your reading. I hope it resonates. If it did, please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Take care.